Hélène Eltchaninoff. I am an interventional cardiologist, and I am the head of the Department of Cardiology in Rouen, which was previously directed by Alain Cribier. Yeah, there are many variation between countries, between centers, and it's very interesting and surprising. For example, in our center, we have never used general anesthesia. We have always used minimalist strategy, and over years, we had more and more patients discharged very early. Now we have 80% of patients discharged less than 3 days of the procedure, and we could demonstrate using publication and trials that it's feasible and safe. And surprisingly, we could also observe that in France, for example, there is a very large heterogeneity between centers with a mean hospital stay between 3 and going to 10 days. And the main reasons, in fact, in 1/3 of cases, there is no real reason for keeping the patient. And this is something which is very striking and which was very important to evaluate for us and for Edwards across the benchmark program. So the benefit of early discharge is to stay not very long at the hospital, to deambulate as fast as possible, to be discharged home, because the patient doesn't like to stay in bed and in a hospital. So even psychologically, I think it's very important. Patients are quite old, with aortic stenosis. They can lose their muscles, they can have like dementia. So it's very important to make them go back home as far as possible. And also because now when the complication occur, in general, it's during the procedure. So after the procedure, in fact, there are not too many complications during hospital stay. So there is really no reason for the physicians to keep a patient in a hospital more than 1 or 2 days, except of course, if he has a complication. With this variability in hospital stay, there is an opportunity to provide advices, measures to be implemented in the centers to offer to the patient and also, of course, to the hospital because it will decrease the cost of the overall hospital stay, to offer measures to improve, in fact, to implement measures for before the procedure, during the procedure, and after the procedure to shorten everything because of the evolution of TAVI, which is more and more simple with less complications and with more experience. So it's a very important opportunity, and it's done across the FAST TAVI 2 trial were conducted in France. It's a research national program, and the benchmark Edwards program. We have more than 40 centers who are in this kind of interventional program to improve the pathway of the patient and to decrease the hospital stay and have a very short hospital stay overall. I think to be able to have a kind of program with early discharge, it's very important to have a kind of TAVI spirit in a team. You have to have all those who are involved in the procedure, in the hospital stay, in the same spirit to have the same measures. And it's very important to have a TAVI coordinator who is discussing with the family and the patient before hospitalization to inform them that if the procedure is fine, which is the majority of cases, there is absolutely no reason to stay in the hospital and that the patient will be discharged after 1, 2, or 3 days. I think information before the hospital stay is very, very important. And this is done by a TAVI coordinator, which to me has a very, very important role in this pathway to simplify the procedure and the hospital stay for the patients. So when we look at the reasons for not discharging a patient. In 1/3 of cases, we could observe that there was no reason. So that's why the information prior to the procedure is so important. In 2/3, the patient is not discharged because either there is a vascular complication, which are less and less common, or you have conductive disorders who, in the vast majority of cases, are quite minimal. It's like left bundle branch block. And it's very common to have physicians keeping the patient on observation, on monitoring for a long time. And we advise to use a kind of protocol. It was published, it's presented. So using a kind of protocol is very helpful for the team to avoid this delay in discharge coming from conductive disorders. I think today with the improvement in the TAVI procedure, the experience, the selection of patients, the hospital stay, short hospital stay, and early discharge is the major point we can discuss with the TAVI procedure, and all these aspects will be discussed during the symposium, the Edwards Symposium, which will be on May 20, and you will have an hour to share the experience from many centers in Europe, in France, and to help you to implement this program and these measures in your center.